Let's go. All right. Welcome back to the ONFORM podcast. Happy to be back. Happy to be um back in the swing of things, man. Happy New Year to everybody. A ton of stuff to talk about this go around. A lot of breaking news. I mean, what did we take? 3 weeks off of this one, and uh man, it's gonna be really, really cool. I love everything that's potentially going to be happening this year. We got a lot of big things coming with the channel that I want to start implementing and doing. We're going to definitely start doing the call-ins this year. If you're a member of the channel, you'll have access to that, and you'll pretty much be able to co-host an episode with me. That'll be a whole ton of fun. We plan on launching that sometime this month or early next month. And we also have some really cool shirts, hoodies, and things like that merch coming out once we hit 4,000 subs. But very happy to see everybody in here. Reese, what is going on, brother? Remote Boomer, Happy New Year. Yes, sir, brother. Yes, sir. Happy New Year. And so we have some really cool stuff coming on. I want to start being a lot more consistent with the channel, giving you guys more content, giving you guys more videos every single week, doing almost like a watch along kind of thing soon, and it's gonna be different than the typical watch alongs that you guys get from other content creators and things like that. So I wanted to try a couple different things. The January is going to be the month of experimentation, so we're gonna play around with those things. But we got a lot to talk about today. That's enough of the updates. A lot to talk about today. A lot of catching up to do. A lot of news. A lot of drama. A lot of stuff that we probably didn't think we'd be talking about. What's going on, Dan? Good to see you in here, Liverpool chat. Dan is also a Liverpool content creator. If you haven't, please follow his channel. Follow his stuff on TikTok as well as YouTube. He has really good takes as well. But let's talk about it. So, as we all know, on form the podcast, we talk about teams that are on form. We talk about teams that are out of form. And this week, we might have to keep Liverpool out of the on form category for the first time, I think, since the Forest lost. That they won't be in the on form category, but maybe we're looking into the result, the draw, the draw, a little bit too heavily. Nick, what's going on? Good to see you in here, brother. A little bit too heavily, but you guys let me know what you guys think now that a couple days has passed since that the Man United draw, which somehow for Man United fans, it's making them feel like they won the World Cup. It's making them feel like they they actually got a winning result out of it. I don't know. But and then I feel like in some parts of the Liverpool fandom, it feels like a loss. I know it did for me in the moment. But now when I'm looking back at it, I'm looking at the table right now. It's actually not that bad, right? 14 wins, 4 draws, 1 loss so far this year with a game in hand on the team that's 6 points behind us, which is Arsenal, right? Who I think is probably the only threat that I see, kind of approaching us. Nottingham Forest is there, but I feel like they've already lost too many games. And I've say this over and over and over all the time on the channel. If you've been following the channel for a long time, you know this. I put nothing past any team. I think any team can win the Premier League in the right season, in the right timing. And I think this is one of those seasons where if there was going to be an outlier, this is the season where the outlier has to happen. And Nottingham Forest probably has the higher likelihood than they probably ever have to win in the league, kind of like a Leicester when they won it, right? So, but when you lose more than 3 games, I feel like it's really, really challenging for you to, or drop an equivalent of 3 games amount of points. I feel like it's really hard for you to compete for a title. I just do. I feel like you put yourself at such a tough spot, especially in the modern day, in this type of league where City has been so dominant. This Liverpool side has been very good, and all of the Liverpool sides of the past 5, 6, 7 years under Klopp, right, have been very good. If Man City wasn't there, we'd be looking at a Liverpool dynasty where we're blowing everybody out of the water in a similar way that Manchester City has. So I'm looking at Arsenal, who's drawn 7 games. That's an equivalent of dropping 2 games worth of points and losing 2 games, right? When you draw 6 games, that's 3 points each. Well, 6 points total lost, right? So or more than that actually. When you actually do the math on that, that's like 12 points that they've already lost, right? So that's almost the equivalent of them losing, I don't know, how many games is that? 4 games, right? Plus the 2 games that they've already lost, right? So it's kind of challenging to really think that they're going to be competitive. I just don't see it. And the same thing with Nottingham Forest. 4 losses already. That's already more than the three losses that I think you're allowed, in my personal opinion, to draw points. And then 4 draws. So I don't know. And I think that's why there's such a huge gap, right? It looks like if you look at the table just at a snapshot, you're looking at it and you're like, it's not that bad. Arsenal's only lost twice. Why are we so much further ahead? Especially when we get this game in hand on them, we'll be 9 points clear of them. It's because of the draws. The draws are going to catch up to them. So let me look at the chat here. Ain't gonna lie, when they scored first and started crying, I laughed for ages how the mighty have fallen. Me too, Dan. I was like, and as you guys know, some of you guys may know, my mom is a massive Manchester United fan. Massive Manchester United fan. I'm like, I had to call her and I was like, y'all are acting like y'all just won the Champions League or something. You scored 1 goal against us. Calm down. And the way that some people are doing edits on Ugarte and edits on Mainu and saying Leach is the best center back in the world and stuff like that. Like, bro, let's calm down. You guys haven't won a game in like 5 matches. Or 6 matches or something like that. Still, you did not win this match. It was a draw, and I think they need to be reminded of that. And then Nick said, I can't be bothered with it. Move on to the next one. I'll never turn my nose up at 4 out of 6 points against Manchester United. Me either. And we know that's one of those games that it always is like an exterior kind of thing where it's outside of league form. It's outside, like, if it's Liverpool, Man United, it's a toss-up. Anyone can win those games. And then Reese said, at Forest coming up is a huge game. That's very true. That's very true. And it's probably our toughest test by the way that they've been playing, how good they are defensive, and how they just are freaking deadly on the counter. And Slots had it circled on red, obviously, and those fans want us. We're chanting, you Scouse bastards, we're coming for you. I saw that. And Arne has been thinking about it since the loss. He brings it up almost every interview. He's going to want to take them apart. Arne Slot is going to want to take them apart and systematically destroy that team. He's going to want to. And I actually can't wait. I can't wait for that match, bro. Let's go. I want the rivalry, baby. I want the intensity. I want their fans to be confident and back their team and just being like, hell yeah, like we can win this shit. Because I would be the same. We'd do the same thing, right? So, Nigel, what's up in the building, my brother? Good to see you. And then Remote Boomer, we just have to remember the main team that could chase us down from this position is Man City, and they are out. The PTSD from previous seasons, I feel, is making a lot of fans more nervous than needed. That's a good point. But then somebody made a crazy ass comment that I saw on Twitter, and that kind of made me nervous again. It's just like, if anybody could go and win the last 18 games, Manchester City could. And somehow pull this title out and go an 18-0 win streak all the way until the end of the season. It's like, it could be Man City, but I think they're completely done. It would be a miracle, and we would have to completely capsize in order to let Man City back into this title race. I think it's going to get to a point where it's probably going to get mathematically impossible for them to win it. So Arsenal are losing right now. Really? I wasn't even watching the game. I wasn't even keeping track of the game. Let's see. Let me throw up the they are losing. They're losing 2-0 to Newcastle. Yep, I'm just seeing that right now, remote boomer. 2-0 to Newcastle. That Isak is a bad, bad boy, bruh. I don't know what we're gonna do with Isak, bruh. Because if we see them in that next round, bro, I mean, we play Newcastle tomorrow, no? No, we play Tottenham. Ooh, I messed that up. We play Tottenham. Um, Isak is just a bad, bad motherfucker, bro. He's finally able to keep fit. He is. I don't even know. He's an old school EPL striker, bro. He's an old school Prem striker, bro. Where you give him an inch, that's it. It's game over. He's banging one in from long range. You give him enough space, he's dribbling past you, and then he's an embarrass your entire back line. I don't know what they put in the water in Sweden, but somehow they just keep producing generational striker after generational striker. They had Zlatan, they had Gyökeres, they got Isak. Like, bro, what is going on in Sweden? Three of some of the best forwards that I've seen. Isak is insanely talented, and somehow got a British accent out of nowhere. If you've watched any of his interviews, is actually kind of funny. Um, so what else we got? Liverpool has 100 points, second, and has 94 left, I believe. That's right. We drew against them in 2019, and we know what happened that year. That is true. And then Nick said, "Man, I will celebrate so hard if we take them to the cleaners. Live versus Forest, real '70s football. Hell yeah, hell yeah, Nick. When it was just us and them winning stuff, you know what I mean? So it's good to see a team like that just kind of bounce back, get back to the former glory, win Champions Leagues. I mean, I feel like I mean, in the top four, there's somebody that's there that shouldn't be there. There's a team that's there that we all have stuff in common in the top four right now. Chelsea, Nottingham, Liverpool. There's just one team that's in there that maybe is like, there's someone among us that's an imposter here. But yeah, Isak is such a heater. He is, bro. Insane talent. Newcastle would be tough, but they know we can put three past them already. It's true. And man, dude, I that's like one of the teams that I do not want to see anytime soon. They've just hit a good vein of form. I thought they were struggling a little bit in the beginning of the season. They were obviously, and now they're in fifth place, hanging out towards the top. And Eddie Howe is doing his thing, man. Eddie Howe's doing his thing. Just some random lab in Swedish mountains producing world class strikers, right, bro? Like, I don't know where they're getting these boys from. Henrik Larsson is another one that wasn't really at that Zlatan level like these two are, but also another great footballer from Sweden. And then Lucas Bergvall, the Tottenham kid, he's good. If I was Ange Postecoglou, I'd give that kid the keys to the kingdom, bro. Do your thing. This is your team. Go crazy. Because I think he is a crazy talent. He's one of those guys that's like flying a little bit under the radar. Him and Archie Gray. And if you followed the channel from the beginning, you know how big I am on Archie Gray. I thought we were going to get Archie Gray. I thought he was going to be like the next DM that we were going to kind of invest in. He played center back against us. Credit to that kid when he played against us. I mean, it's not an easy game to play against Liverpool at all, and he did his best. And that's not even his natural position. But those two are definitely ones for the future. Whoever's doing the scouting at Tottenham, they have a good talent ID. They just have a really hard time putting it together right now. And then meatballs and herring ABBA on loop during workouts equals goals. Right? The meatballs go crazy, bro. The meatballs and the herring. And then Forrest being top feels like an old enemy coming back in a drama, right? Like, you ever seen that Ian Wright meme where he's like, he's at the stadium and he turns around and he sees his grade school teacher and he's like, I thought you were dead. That's like same thing with us with Nottingham Forest, bro. So, very interesting stuff coming out of the league this week. I'd have to say the teams that are in my on form category for the week is it's got to be Nottingham Forest, bruh. They just refuse to. They just keep winning. They just keep finding ways to not lose. I guess is a better way to put it. They keep finding ways to not lose. I'm gonna put them in my top 3 for this week. I think they're in a good way. I also kind of want to go left field because we haven't done this in a few weeks, right? So maybe we'll take all the past 3 results into consideration. I'm gonna say Nottingham Forest, and then I'm gonna say Ipswich. Is that crazy? Is it crazy to say Ipswich, guys? They got that result at Chelsea. They got that result at Arsenal, and then they just got another result this week. And I said that I think Ipswich can put it together, bro. Well, they almost got a result at Arsenal. I stand corrected. Almost got that result at Arsenal. I want to put them in the top. I want to put them in the top 3. I do. I want to put them in the on form category. I want to put them in the on form category. We'll see. And then Derek Mulligan, hey from Dublin, Ireland. Talik, hopefully I'm saying that right. I'm probably not. Copites, love your LFC content, brother. I love you, Derek. You are the man. Thank you for popping in, brother. And then Bournemouth signed that Solaire kid. Anybody think Kirk is getting shipped out? He could be. I don't know. I see, because there's a lot of conflicting reports coming out about Kirkes that it could be us, it could be someone else that's in for him. From what I understood is that our interest has kind of cooled on Kirkes a lot, in that we're gonna stick by uh, um by Robertson. Is from what I understood. That's from what I understand, is that we're sticking by Robertson and we're going to wait until the summer to address the left back situation, which I think may be a sign that we may be going after Alphonso Davies instead. We could be going after Alphonso Davies instead, who I think is a better choice than Kirkes. Kirkes I think has a higher ceiling, maybe. Because let's not forget, like, people forget that, like, Alphonso Davies is like, he's like 24 years old, guys. He's not, like, he's been playing at the top level for a really long time because he's been with Bayern since he was a teenager. But Alphonso Davies is 24. Like, he's not even hit his prime yet. So getting a player that I think is one of the top, maybe a top 5 left back in the world, and Alphonso Davies, and has been that way since he was a teenager, is an outstanding deal. If FSG do the FSG thing, I can see them going after Davis for free. I can see them going after Jonathan David for free, both in that American region, right? Canada. And I feel like that connection there being kind of close, you know what I mean? Like Toronto being, relatively close to the Boston area and things like that. I could see it. If FSG do FSG stuff, I would love those 2 signings. And I know Michael Edwards takes a lot of influence and a lot of inspiration from the way Madrid run their club. They love signing players for free. I can see us doing the same thing. Give them a little bit of a hefty signing on fee. And I think having Davies and Jonathan David in our ranks will never hurt anything. And if anything can happen in 3 and 4 years, we can sell those guys for pure profit. So it just makes sense to me personally. So that's my thoughts on the Kirkes deal. I think it probably is not us who's going to get him. I do think he potentially could go, given that they've already replaced him with a younger guy or a kid. So we'll see what happens. Nick says, I don't think so. They could just be adding depth. It could be that as well. And then Ipswich should have won the Fulham game, hit the post 30 seconds before giving up the PK. That lost them the 3 points, for sure. And I don't know. I said this in the beginning of the season. I think Ipswich is going to somehow make it. I think they're gonna make it, bro. I think they're gonna make it, bro. 16 points, tied with Wolves, just outside of that drop zone. Man United need to be careful. Crystal Palace need to be careful. Everton need to be careful. Because the race for relegation is not over. It's still very, very tight. I mean, there's only like a 9 point difference between 13th and 18th, bro. Like it's kind of crazy. So same thing with the top, right? So we can't just right off the season and think we're gonna win this whole thing, but we'll see. We'll see. Should we get Frankie De Jong love from Holland? Matt G, I love Holland. I love Holland, brother. I love Holland. It is one of my favorite countries ever, bro. Thank you for tuning in, by the way. I like Frankie De Jong a lot. I thought we were gonna get him when Thiago left, but I think Jurgen Klopp leaving kind of changes that a little bit. But Slot obviously coming in and having that Dutch connection, you know, Frankie has been pretty open about him potentially being moving away from Barcelona. Who knows? Who knows what'll happen with Frankie? And money talks for sure, especially if we come in with an offer for Frankie because of how tight Barcelona's financial situation is. It's not looking good. I believe they just had to give up Danny Olmo because they couldn't come up with the money to get him registered. We could tempt them. I just don't know. I guess, I mean, yeah, that makes sense to me. That move actually does make sense to me. He could come in. Would you put Frankie De Jong on the bench? I don't know. Maybe you treat him like a Thiago, right? Where you know he's a little bit of injury prone, but he has all the talent that you want. So maybe he doesn't play every game, and he's almost more like a deputy to Maka and Ryan Gravenberch. I love that. I love that move, but I don't see it happening, sadly. If it does, I'll be over the moon, though. Havertz just missed a sitter. What's new? He's not a forward. And that's another thing about Arsenal that it doesn't bother me because I don't care if they win or lose, but they just keep buying the same profile of type of player over and over. And I don't know why. They need a bona fide goal goal scorer. They need a TT Henry. They need a Robin Van Persie. They need somebody that can go get them a freaking goal when in times like this, in matches like this, where you have Isak who pulls up and can bang in a goal whenever he really wants, right? Or whenever he's given the opportunity, he does it. They need an Isak type. They need a Gyökeres type. These are the players they should be going after. They shouldn't be going after Cunha. They shouldn't be going after João Pedro. Like, you're getting the same profile of player. You're getting another Kai Havertz. You're getting another Gabriel Jesus. Buy a bona fide forward. I just don't get it. But hey, at least this season we're not buying yet another left back. Already two senior players plus Gomez as backup. That's very true. We do have Simicas there, and Gomez can play there, so I don't see it. That Kirkes move happening. I can see us being smart and going after Davies in the summer, though. Didn't they confirm some guys definitely coming this window with Fabrizio earlier? I'm not sure. I think they said that if an opportunity arises and it's very obvious, which we've heard this a million times before, then they'll go for somebody. But if not, then we probably won't move this transfer window. Don't expect anything unless somebody goes down, right? Long term, which Gomez has. So I think that should be enough of a sign. If in my ideal world, I would love to see us go after Gerald Hato. I would love to see us go after Gerald Hato. Dutch connection, prodigy, Ajax, can play everywhere, phenomenal on the ball, in amazing passing range, probably the fastest center back in the Dutch league. I say this over and over and over. I harp on this kid almost every single week. He's the truth. I like him. Can play left back, can play center back. He's like a Urian Timber type, or like the Timber Boys, where they can play anywhere, left back, right back, midfield. They can play as a winger. It doesn't matter where you put them. They have the technical ability to play anywhere on the pitch. Gerald Hato is one of those guys, and he's a big, massive fan of VVD. That's like his idol. So make that happen. If there's one signing this transfer window I want to see, I want to see Gerald Hato at our club. And he's captaining the Ajax side at like 18, 19 years old. Insane stuff. It's great to see Forrest back in the big time, and Ipswich are scrapping for their lives, and it's working. You get the pronunciation perfect, brother. Can I ask for the first name, please? Wow, I can't believe I got that right. Let's go. And then my name is Roman, by the way. My name is Roman. Nice to meet everybody. And then Nick, I see you at the expense of whom, though? Probably Everton. In terms of going back to the Ipswich, surviving the drop. I can see Leicester making it too, y'all. I can see Leicester making it too, y'all, bro. Like, they didn't play terrible against us. Rude is kind of cooking. Like, kind of got to let Rude cook for a little bit. He may be able to pull off a miracle. Tough result against Aston Villa, of course. I mean, you're playing Aston Villa, right? You're playing Aston Villa, then you play us. You play City, Aston Villa, and us in back to back to back weekends, and it's kind of close, right? It doesn't, you don't get absolutely sparked by any of these teams. I think they could. I think they could. I can see it, bro. I can see it. But let's say in this world that Leicester ours going down, Southampton we know is going down, and it's between Ipswich, Wolves, Everton, Crystal Palace. Maybe West Ham, maybe Manchester United. Maybe. I doubt it though. Let's say realistically. It would have to either be Crystal Palace or Everton. And I predicted at the beginning of the season that I think Crystal Palace's luck is running out. I do. I think Wolves are too good to go down. I think they'll get it together and they'll figure it out. They have enough quality, I think, on the pitch to figure it out. Ipswich has fight. I think Crystal Palace's luck is maybe potentially running out. But we'll see. It's going to be a crazy ass into the season, dude. I mean, in Everton, they're not in a good way. They haven't won in their past 5. Wolves at least have pulled out two wins in their last 5. Same thing with Ipswich. Same thing with Crystal Palace. It might be Everton. This could be one of the last Merseyside derbies that we get to see, right? So, could Ipswich stay but lose in 3 weeks? That would be great. Right? Please do. Insane wages at Barcelona doesn't make any sense. He is on crazy wages. De Jong is. Bowen Palmer and Gordon and Son would be perfect fit for Liverpool FC. I mean, Bowen is definitely a Liverpool style player. It's unfortunate that he never really got to make that move. I remember there was so many rumors about him when Klopp was in charge, when he was like a little bit younger than he is now. Now I just don't see it happening. Son would have been perfect. Son is like a total Liverpool signing. Apparently we wanted to sign him instead of Firmino, or Klopp wanted him instead of Firmino, or something like that. I can't remember what the story was, but I remember he did. I remember this, that we actually were in for Son when he used to play for. I believe he played for Frankfurt. No, he played for Eintracht Frankfurt. And it just it never materialized. He ended up going to Tottenham. Absolute legend, absolute Premier League legend, absolute Tottenham land. Hamburg. Leverkusen. No, he played for Leverkusen. Hamburg and then Leverkusen. And absolute legend in the Premier League, I believe, personally. Wonderful human being. You never hear anything terrible about Son. Would be perfect. Gordon, obviously, is a Liverpool lad. And then Palmer. I don't know. Interesting guy. Interesting kid. We'll see. But remember, AFTV say they don't need a striker. They have a super duper Arteta. I watch AFTV literally just to see all of the takes. Like, I'm just like, bro, you guys have to be taking the piss. You have to be taking the piss with some of these takes. And it just makes me laugh. It makes me all warm inside whenever I watch them just squirm and just see the joy leave their eyes whenever they lose or draw and drop points. Nick, why would Chelsea ever sell Palmer to us? They wouldn't. You know, Hato is crazy. He captained that team at 18 for a few games. I know, and I like him a lot. I'm surprised he's not on anyone's radar. If he doesn't get picked up by one of the big teams in the Premier League, I can see him being snatched up by like a Madrid, by like a Juventus or something like that. He's a special talent. And then Man, you should have kept Rude. They should have. I agree, Matt. They should have kept Rude until the end of the season and just had Amarim lined up. Fine. Rude was never supposed to be a permanent thing. But let Rude continue to cook and do his thing with that squad. And I think it would have been a lot more stable instead of going from Ten Hag, Rude, having some success, players loving him. It's a good vibe. You guys are getting wins, getting results. Then to Amarim. And then now we're starting back from square one. And we're trying to figure out a system where the manager is like kind of stuck in his way and he won't change the way that he does things. And you're pushing players out, you're dropping players. There's a bunch of drama around the club. And you know, it's just a weird way to just kind of pick up in the middle of the season. And Amarim has to be careful, man, because he might make the same mistake that Ten Hag made and not adjust, right? I know he's like really set on playing this 3-4-3, which worked to an extent against us. I think, you know, we've given him a little bit too much credit for the draw against us. But in reality, Man United haven't won in a long time. So it could get ugly for them before it gets better. And if they keep losing and not getting results, we could be talking about Man United maybe being in the drop. I don't know. We'll have to see. But if he doesn't adjust and change the way that he plays based off of the personnel that he has, he may be in trouble. Because I made this comment on Twitter the other day when somebody said, because there was like a video of Amarim saying like, oh, when you change your principles as a manager, you're dead. And I'm like, I get what you're talking about there. I get what you're talking about. But you also have to be competent as a manager and understand the situation that you're in at the moment. Understand that the personnel that you have and that every scenario and every situation is different as a manager. You can't treat everything the same. It was like Klopp. When Klopp came in and inherited that side from Brendan Rodgers, right? He could have came in and said, we're going to play this specific way and we're not going to move off the motives. Klopp was smart. He knew he didn't have he didn't have the side that he wanted, right? So we played a specific way. We played a very specific way in the very beginning. It was still Klopp style, but it wasn't that hardcore Klopp style that we ended up coming to know when we won everything, right? Pressing like absolute animals, because you didn't have players in that side that could really do those things that you needed them to do. So Klopp was able to adjust and say, you know what, I'm a competent manager. I know I don't have the players that I need to run my system to its fullest. So let's make adjustments and tweaks. And I think that's why Klopp ends up having a longer term and tenure and being more successful than most managers, young managers like that do. Right. So that's my take on that. We'll see what happens. Nah, no way. Leicester pull it off. There would need to be two established teams fall off to make that happen. It's true. It's true, bro. It's true. It would have to be Everton. It would have to be Crystal Palace in order for that to happen. It would have to be Everton or Crystal Palace if Leicester makes it. And Wolves, obviously. I mean, it could be Wolves and Everton. And we see Leicester and Ipswich survive the drop. Who knows, bro? Who knows? Who will be our main rival for the title? I think City. That's actually really interesting that you say that. I think you may have jumped in after I made this comment. But if anybody could go on and win every single one of their last games all the way up until the end of the season, it could be Manchester City. I saw a comment like that on the social media the other day. Like, wouldn't it be absolutely terrifying if Man City just went on an 18-0 win streak and somehow pushed us to the very end? And I'm like, it's not out of the realm of possibility. And if there's one team you do not take for granted and you don't say like, oh, they can't do it, it's Manchester City. Because the table is a lot tighter than we think, right? Right? The table is a lot tighter than we think. So we'll see. We're 12 points clear of them. We could end up being 15 points clear of them by the end of everything. I still do think City is in the mix. I can't even believe I'm saying that. I think Arsenal is out just from the mentality, from top to bottom, from the ownership all the way down to fans. Um, they'd have to have like a picture perfect season. And I think they need to start holding Arteta accountable for some of the results that they've had, because they should be winning a lot of these matches, but they're playing a weird brand of football this season. So, um, believe it or not, Nottingham Forest and Manchester City, I think, are the two people that I think we need to worry about the most. Everton are shocking and might go down. That's right, Derek. They might. We might be looking at one of the last ever Merseyside derbies coming up. But we'll have two, right? We have one home and one away that we still need to play against them because the last one got canceled. Hey, going under the radar is perfect for us. This is exactly the type of signing that Edwards wants. Definitely. Um, and I think we're talking about Hato, right? So no one's really talking about Hato at all, and it's weird because he's probably the most gifted young center back in the world right now. Wouldn't be shocked if Hato was a live player by the end of August. I hope so. I hope so, Nick. And then Reese said, despite the West Ham BS, I actually don't hate Amram, and I kind of feel bad for the guy. 100%. If you guys have, I did a full video on Ruben Amram and how much like I actually really like the way that he plays football and the way that he goes about things. And I would have been really happy if he was our manager. I thought he was the second best choice behind Xabi Alonso. Thankfully, I don't run this club. But I like the way that he does things. And I think we saw a little bit of the character. We saw a little bit of what potential could be under Ruben Amram with Manchester United. And if he can dial it in, it's going to be scary for the rest of the league because he's great. I think he just needs to learn a little bit more as a manager. You know, obviously Slot has more experience than Amram, right? In terms of Amram's won a lot of things as well, but Slot is kind of. Would you say that Eredivisie is bigger than the Portuguese league in terms of pressure? I feel like yes, with the history with the Ajax and stuff like that, and so I think it's a little bit different. I think Slot was a very smart appointment, but I think Slot probably, now looking back, hindsight 2020, does better than Amram does in this Liverpool role. And then Derek, absolutely, you are spelling that right. That's it, Roman. Boom. Thank you. Appreciate that, man. Welcome to the channel again. I know you've been commenting on the last couple ones. You always bring a lot of really good positive energy. Appreciate that, man. And then keeping Trent on that long was literally the only time Slot annoyed me with tactics this year. Hey, man, like I get that. And for me, I was like, I thought Trent was going to turn it around too, bro. Like, I don't blame Slot. Like, typically, you know, we improve as an entire side after halftime. And I thought Trent was going to turn it around. And you look back at it, he probably should have brought Connor on. But Connor is coming back from an injury, right? And then that's another thing. Like, Slot really didn't have a choice in picking Trent and keeping him on for as long as that he did. Gomez is out, right? Konate is coming back from injury. Bradley's coming back from injury. We don't really have anyone else that can deputize on that right side. So Trent kind of had to stay in the game for as long as he did. And then that's trauma speaking for you. Bruh, if anybody can go on an 18-0 win streak, it's Man City, for fuck's sake. And it's sad that that's the truth. And then Dan said it's Forest, and we all know they have done 6 in a row. They're signing, we're going to win the league. They're singing we're going to win the league already, saying that they're going to smash us. Dude, I love the confidence from their supporters, dude. I love that type of shit. Like, keep it coming. Like, I can't wait until we play you guys. I can't wait. I cannot wait. It's going to, that'll be, it could be a big rivalry that is born out of that if Nuno can keep it up for several seasons. And it's beautiful seeing one of the old giants reawaken. And then I thought he was conceited at first, but I don't hate him now after hearing him talk. Yeah, I thought Amram was like trying to be a little bit Jose Mourinho-ish, But in actuality, it's not really that. He's actually a really likable guy, and he has a lot of charisma as well. Similar to how Slot moves in terms of just a lot of little clever things that he says and things like that. But he can't be stubborn in a situation like this where I mean they're teetering on the edge there, right? Where if they don't put stuff together, I mean they would have been 14th, right, with on 22 points. If they don't fix it, it could get bad. And sometimes you have to be like, all right, let me put my ego aside and let's get a result here, right? So Bradley wasn't available for 45 minutes with 1 day of training after hamstring. Right, exactly, Nick. Exactly. So he probably was only cleared to play maybe 10 or 15 minutes that day. I'd be more scared of Forrest right now if our coach wasn't acting a psychopath about that loss. Right, exactly. I don't think Arne Slot lets us lose that game. The way that Slot has been obsessive over that loss, he's gonna, like I said before, he's gonna want to come and kill these guys. He's gonna want to come and prove to everybody that that was an absolute fluke and they don't deserve to hang with us. And I love that shit. I love that from our coach, bro. So I'm looking forward to that match when that comes up. But yeah, those are the guys that I feel like are on form for this week. I'm going Nottingham Forest, Ipswich, the wild card pick for me, and then let's go Newcastle, man. Newcastle with the resurgence, bro. 5 in a row, 5 wins in a row out of nowhere, bouncing back like nobody's business. Honorable mention would obviously be Manchester City, who's finally starting to put wins together after being winless for so long. So that would be my top three for me. Nottingham Forest, Newcastle, Ipswich. Those are my on forms for this week. Let me know if you guys agree with those. But I'm looking at the table. I think those guys have earned it. City could be there. City could be there, right? But I'm giving it to Ipswich. Fuck it, bro. I'm giving it to Ipswich. It was more impressive. They probably should have had three wins in a row. Let's be honest there. So I love what they're doing there. But Dan with Liverpool chat said people are saying Slot's weakness is Portuguese managers. Let's hope that's not the case, bro. Let's hope that's not the case. Nick, we could be watching a proper blowout. I'm just nervous about who blows out who. Right? Like, bro, like I that's gonna be a crazy ass match. So we'll see. I'm really excited for. I haven't been this excited for like a match against someone that's not like a part of the Big Six in a long time. So it's very refreshing. We see them January 14th. Bring them, bro. Bring them. Bring them. We want them. So we'll see. As for the teams that are out of form this week, I could easily go in and just be like, oh, Southampton, Leicester, Everton. I'm not gonna do that this week. I'm not gonna do like the obvious ones this week. I'm gonna do Tottenham because they got to get it together. I'm gonna do Tottenham. I'm gonna do, and this is mainly based off of the effect of the result. I'm gonna do Arsenal, and I'm going to do Everton for my bottom. Liverpool almost in that category. I almost put them in out of form this week, but I think that's a little bit too harsh. Arsenal, mainly because that's a game you got to win. And let's be honest, Brighton probably should have beat them. They were lucky. Brighton were lucky to not get the victory. Arsenal were lucky to get away with just a draw, I think. Brighton whooped their ass in that second half. Like no competition in the second half. Whooped their ass. They lucky we were able to get out of that match. So I think Arsenal is in there. Tottenham, it's not looking good. 10 losses. It's not looking good for Tottenham. Um, and I would not be surprised if Ange goes sooner rather than later. I think he's probably the most likely out of all of the managers right now in the league. And then Everton. I mean, they haven't won a game in 5 matches. But you know what? Maybe not Everton because they've been taking points off of our rivals for us. But no, we'll put Everton in there. I think that makes the most sense out of everyone that I see. No, what am I talking about? We're gonna leave Everton out of there. Chelsea. We're doing Chelsea. We're doing Chelsea 100%. It's got to be Chelsea in the out of form category this week. The 3 in the bottom. So I'm going Chelsea because they haven't won a game in 4 matches. 2 losses in a row right before this last draw. We're going Chelsea, we're going Arsenal, and we're going who did I say? Tottenham. Chelsea, Arsenal, Tottenham. All the London clubs. Not looking good for them. So, but Forrest don't have VVD. He nearly beat United on his own. Low key. People that haven't talked about that performance he had against United. Bro was literally basically the only man back. Konate was still trying to get up to speed with things. Usually he's like a monster and can cover for Trent when Trent's not on point. But VVD was everywhere, bro. VVD was everywhere that game. And the Forest used to be LFC's bogey team back in the day. Don't say that, Derek. Don't say that, bro. Don't say that. Don't say that. It's Brighton these days. If Nottingham Forest become our new bogey team, I'll probably have to cry a little bit. And then absolutely, Brighton should have put it to bed after the penalty, 100%. And then Dan with Liverpool chat said, we have only won at the City Ground once since the 80s, I think. Damn. I didn't even know that, bro. Chelsea's week-long title race, right? They were in the. I mean, their supporters always said like, "Oh, we're not in a title race. Like, you guys got to calm down." Whether you believe that was out of like hubris or not, it was good that they said that to protect themselves because I think they felt it was a little bit too soon. Which I think we all felt it was a little bit too soon to say that Chelsea were in the race. And then a valiant week-long title effort from Palmer FC. Feels like we've been avoiding Trent this chat. Oh, we're gonna talk about Trent, baby. We're gonna talk about Trent. Let's jump right into it because that's essentially the last segment there of what we typically talk about every podcast. So we typically do on form, out of form, and then we talk about off the press. So, off press, man. Trent Alexander-Arnold. Does he stay? Does he go? We're going to talk about Elon Musk. We're going to talk about Trent. We're going to talk about all of those things that we're seeing in the media. How much of this stuff is true? We don't know. I think most of it probably is not true. But Trent allegedly demanding £300,000 a week. Which would make it like a $70+ million contract over 5 years or something like that, if I'm not mistaken. They're saying that he may have given Madrid the green light to inquire about him as a negotiation tactic and as to try to kind of force Liverpool's hand a little bit. How much of that is true? We don't know, right? And then he goes and drops an absolute stinker against Manchester United. Here is my main issue with Trent Alexander-Arnold and why in that last video that I did, I kind of went off on him a little bit. Don't get me wrong. I love Trent Alexander-Arnold. He is one of my favorite Liverpool players ever. Such a unique talent. There will never, ever, ever be another Trent Alexander-Arnold. Ever. There won't. But when all of these things are starting to come out in the media, when you said that my contract won't be played out in the media, it won't be played out in the press, and then we see Madrid sources going absolutely crazy. We see Madrid put in an inquiry, if you want, or you want to call it or whatever, whether it was a bid or not, whatever it is, right? They inquired about him. Hey, if we paid you 15, would you take it? And then to not come out and say, none of that stuff is true. I told you guys that my contract won't be played out in the media. Whatever you see in the press, don't believe it unless it comes out of my mouth. It's that simple to say that with Trent and his team. And for people that are saying, oh, Trent can't really say that because that'll weaken his stance in negotiating. Salah has. Salah's been very open in everything, right? Which I think has been aiding his contract talks. And I've heard that he just signed, and who knows how true this is. I heard that Salah signed a 2-year deal, right? There's reports coming out that he may have signed a 2-year deal. But Mo has been very open. Oh, there's nothing been on the table. I want to stay. I'd love to stay, but as of right now, this will be my last season. If Trent just was like that and was just like, hey, there's a deal on the table. It's not what I want. Ideally, I want to stay here. I want to captain the club. I want to win Liverpool the Premier League title. Saying stuff like Mo's saying. Like, yes, some people don't love that. Some people don't love how outspoken Mo is right now. I do, because it's telling the fans, like, if this deal doesn't materialize, it's not me that wants to leave. I'm very clear about what I want. I want to stay here and I want to win Champions Leagues and Premier Leagues with this club. If the deal doesn't materialize, it's because the guys behind the scenes, we couldn't get a deal done. And if Trent just would have did that, instead of staying quiet with all of this stuff happening, then you drop a stinker, it just causes a nuke to go off. And it causes fans to then do exactly what we're doing right now, start questioning his loyalty to the club. That's just the natural reaction. We can be like, oh, lay off Trent. Oh, you guys aren't real fans. Oh, you guys are throwing up against. That's the natural reaction to any situation. This could have been any player. You have a player whose contract is ending, born and raised in the city, said he wants to captain the side, says he wants to win everything, says he never would want to go anywhere, says he wants to emulate some of the greats that have stayed there nearly their entire career, like a Steven Gerrard. And then the contract runs down. There's rumors swirling about everywhere about Real Madrid, about all of this extra stuff. And you don't come out and say that anything. You don't say anything. You let the rumors cook, and then you drop a stinker, and you look uninterested. You're lazy on the pitch. You're lacking effort in the game right after all of this stuff is happening. What the hell do you think's going to happen with most of the fans? That's probably what's going to happen. That's my issue with Trent. I want him to be able to come out similar to Mo and say, I would love a deal. I want a deal to be done. We're still working on it. It's that simple. It's that simple. Instead of letting the Madrid papers and the Madrid mouthpiece papers cook and just cook and just cook and cook and cook. Because then it makes it seem like, maybe there is legs to that. Especially when it starts to affect your play on the field. That's my take on that. So Nick says, doesn't need to be dragged out more. Let's just let him get over it. There's been enough Trent chat, I feel. That's all I have to say about Trent in that whole thing. I hope he does sign a contract. I hope he does get to stay at Liverpool, because I think he's a special player. And I don't like it when my club loses special players. I don't care. But somebody did make a really good point that what if we put him in the position that he probably should have been playing in the first place? Because somebody made a really good point that I saw, and it's just like, all this is that Liverpool never gave Trent the training and made him kind of put the time in to actually play in the position he probably should be playing, and that's midfield. And I never thought about it that way. And they were like, he should have, we missed an opportunity of bringing Connor Bradley into that right back position because of how good he is and how almost every time he steps onto the pitch, he's the best player on it. Does that not like freak anybody out? Like that freaks me out a little bit about Connor Bradley. Like nearly every time he plays, he's like the best player on the pitch. It's low-key kind of spooky. And this is against top sides, Madrid, Chelsea. Like we're not playing, like we don't play him against like some wimpy ass teams. We should have saw that and be like, oh shit, this Bradley kid is special. Let's find a new place for Trent because we got to work Bradley into the team some way, somehow, right? Maybe we should have been putting Trent through his paces in a deep quarterback kind of midfield role and get him to understand the position and get him to understand what it's like to play midfield because it can be taught. Don't people, you're either born a midfielder or you're not. No, I think you can learn that stuff. I do think, Nick, to your point, I do think it is too late now. But imagine that when we started doing the whole inverted thing, when he was essentially playing as a midfielder, we kept him there. We gave him 2 years, 3 years to develop in that midfield role, had him train with Thiago, had him train with some of our top midfielders, right? And we gave him that time and we say, you know what? We want you to be a quarterback. We want you to be our Andrea Pirlo because I think he has that in him. I thought he had that in him. And mind you, Trent's 26, 25. He's not that old. Be our Pirlo. You and Ryan are going to go crazy in the base of this midfield. You're going to be the quarterback. With Maka ahead of them as an attacking midfielder? Oh, shit. And it is. And I get that happily with the lack of pace with Trent, but Pirlo wasn't fast. Did we forget that? Like Pirlo wasn't very fast. Sergi Busquets wasn't fast. We just need to work on the reading of the game. Is what it is with Trent. Reading of the game would have been the big thing for him, and that would have took time. So when we inverted him, we should have been teaching him the basics of midfield. When we go here, we go here. When this player breaks forward, you stay. You know what I mean? Like those simple things, and just had him been training with the midfielders the entire time. Because like I get like the whole pace thing, but like he's playing against some of the fastest players in the world playing at right back, and that's why he gets dusted almost every time. So I just feel like his position, his natural position should have been in a pivot as a quarterback with another midfielder. That's what I think, bruh. I truly believe that's where Trent's future should have lied. But like a lot of you are saying, it may have just been it would have been too late. It may just be too late to even teach him how to even have those skills and do those things. Do I think it's still a possibility? I do. If Trent works insanely hard, much harder than he does now, I think he could be a serviceable midfielder for us. With his passing range, I think he can dial it in and play in that pivot. But Nick says, I still don't think it's worth the total psychosis people are experiencing. That's bang out of line. You're basically gift wrapping him and sending him over to Madrid. That's very true. Trent never once looked over his shoulder to see who was behind him. Dalot had a 5-yard head start every time. That is very true as well. When people say all that, this Dalot is the slowest fullback in the league. Hey, yeah, that's a really good point. So if you're getting dusted by Dalot, it's not looking good. It's effort. And that's what I'm talking about, bro. Like, we're happily saying, like, Dalot is the slowest fullback in the league. Trent's faster than Dalot. We know that. So, and then Nick said, it's too late to make Trent a midfielder. It should have happened way earlier in his career if it was to be. It should have probably happened 3 years ago. If we want to be really honest. 2 or 3 years ago. When we first started experimenting with the inverting him into midfield. Trent's lack of pace is letting down. I already read that, sorry. I think Slot should put him in midfield. I do too, Gina. I do too. And then I just think it's too late to develop his spatial awareness for him to play DM. It might be. He would have to work extremely hard. And the Italian league is a slower league. They build up slow. You don't need pace. I guess that's true. That's a good point. Who else is a slower midfielder? Gundogan. Who else is a slower? Kovacic. Who else wasn't super duper fast? And never has really been super fast and played in the Premier League. I would say Modric to a degree. Um, who else was one of those midfielders that was Gareth Barry is another one of those midfielders that didn't have a ton of pace but was really good. Who else? I don't even guys, I'll be honest, I don't even think Frank Lampard was that pacey. Am I wrong? I don't recall Frank Lampard being that pacey. So, I don't know. I think to make up for the speed, you have to have incredible spatial awareness and the reading of the game, which Trent obviously that's one of the things that he struggles with. So, to your guys' point, it'd be hard to see him move into midfield. And then Brian said, "Man, he's a good right back. He is a good right back. But is he a $300,000 a week right back? I think that's still to be seen, and I think that's unfortunate to say given the point where he is in his career, right? Like we shouldn't be saying like we'll see if he's worth 300K when he's this far into his career already. Doesn't make sense. So, Nick, if Trent is our weakest link, I don't believe that for a second. He isn't, by the way. Then he definitely shouldn't be in midfield. That's for sure. Right. Exactly. Which is why I think he's a great he would be a good midfielder because I think he's still a top 3 player on our team. Despite how bad he played against Manchester United, my issue is that the whole thing that's going on outside of football and then dropping the stinker where it looked like you didn't care. I still think he has unlimited talent and so much potential, which I think if anybody can become a midfielder and transition in and has the talent to do it, it's Trent Alexander freaking Arnold. But do you have to have the willingness to want to learn a new position, work hard, stay after, drill, work with Maka, work with Ryan Gravenberg, get in the pitch with Heitinga, all of that stuff. So, you know what I mean? Those are the things, bro. Oh yeah, definitely like the stream, guys. Like the podcast so we can get this out to more people. I keep forgetting to say that to people. But like it. You can get away with a lack of pace if you read the game well and have good anticipation. Exactly, happily. Exactly. Which all of those guys that I mentioned had all of that in spades. So he'd have to work on that tremendously for it to work. But if anyone's talented enough to do it, it is Trent Alexander-Arnold. But the willingness also has to be there, right? Because you look at a guy like Henderson who didn't have a ton of talent, right? Henderson was more of a workhorse kind of guy. He worked harder than anybody. Him and Milner, right? Worked harder than anyone that we've seen in midfield to figure it out and make up for the lack of skill with hard work and intelligence, right? So Arsenal bottle it. They do. It's 2-0 full time. They still have another leg, though. They could come back. They totally could come back. So in that second leg. So we'll see. You know, we'll see what Arteta has to say. We'll see what Arteta has to say. I'll have to tune into AFTV after we jump off the stream, bro, so I can get a good laugh in. And then Gina says, teams are always exploiting the right side, and that is fact. Teams are always attacking Trent. We can't forget, though, this season, Trent has actually been very good defensively. It was just this Manchester United game that was just this weird outlier. And I think that's the part that bothers most people is because, you've been good all season. What happened? Right? So, I don't know. We'll see what happens. He's been brilliant. I love him. I wish he stay. All of his the fewer makes me want to defend him more, even though he was appalling on Sunday. Right. Yeah. Trent's been great all season. We can't forget that. Trent actually has been really good defensively all season. And then Derek Mulligan said Alan Hansen could read the game like a book with little or no pace. That's true. And barely ever went to ground. They always say like, hey, if your kid is dirty, that means that you're out of position, which I feel like VVD is like that as well. Hendo had a defense in his heart. He did. And was just an animal. Him and Milner were just animals, bro. They were just animals. Him, Milner, Wijnaldum is just like they were a pack of dogs, bro. In that midfield, they were just like you weren't outworking them. You just weren't. And then Arsenal lose by 2 goals with 3.76 xg. No way. Is that the truth? Let me look that up. Is that for real, bruh? It's true. Oh, so they didn't play. They didn't play like Stoke today. I'm very surprised. They didn't play like Stoke today. I was only watching the play by not the play by play, but yeah, I guess the play by play here. I didn't even watch the game. I didn't have the game running. They had 70% possession. Damn. Not bad. Maybe I'm tripping, but and I didn't watch the game, and the stats are low key kind of in their favor a little bit, but a 3.09 xg is what I'm getting from Opta, but still pretty close to almost to that's 0.75. Crazy. And then Nick also said they are targeting him not because he's bad, but because he's always so advanced upfield. Good point. And he's told to do that. Keep that in mind. I'm hard on Trent because he's lazy on defense. This system has protected and covered up his defensive lapses. It's true. That's also true, right? Two things can be true at once. He's so far upfield because potentially he's being told to, right? He's being told to push up that far upfield. And the system is designed to cover when Trent is that far out of position. Klopp has talked about this plenty of times with Trent. Havertz missed sitters. Apparently, the probably inflated the XG count. That's something to take into account. Getting 3 at St. James Park will be hard for them. It will. It's gonna be like a. It's gonna be like a fucking. It's gonna be a Lions Den there. It is. And happily said bye bye AFC. Bye bye AFC. I hope so. But Nunez is the one who needs to go. What does he even do lately? Ah, man. And I'm a big Nunez fan. You guys know I love Nunez a whole ton. I have one of his jerseys. But fuck, man. It's getting tough, harder and harder to defend it. And some of the rumors that are popping up about him potentially going, I saw Newcastle on the list, which was weird. Milan was also on the list. I think Milan is a great place for him to kind of restart his career. I do hope he does turn it around and he bounces back for us and becomes one of the legendary Liverpool number 9s. But it's been close to 4 years now, and it's getting harder and harder to believe and think that that could potentially happen. So I don't know. We'll have to see. But as for the off the press, that's all I got for you guys today. I was gonna talk a little bit about the whole Elon Musk situation and things like that, but we are at an hour and 10 minutes. I guess we can chat a little bit about that. Before I jump off, I know that's definitely something that we want to bring up. We'll give it like 10-15 minutes and we'll just open this damn thing up. Let me know what your guys' thoughts are on the whole Elon Musk thing, bro. What is all that for, brother? What is it? What are we thinking about that? You know what I mean? In the whole him potentially buying it, his dad has come out and said that his family actually has some ties to the city, that his grandmother is actually a Liverpudlian, and they personally know a lot of the Beatles and things like that, or they knew a lot of the Beatles, and that they go to back and visit Liverpool pretty often. That's great, but I want to know what your guys' perspective on that whole thing is. And I played a little bit of a devil's advocate on a post that I posted, I want to say like maybe an hour or two ago. And I want to know what your guys' perspective on that whole thing is. Because I have a perspective of it could two things could happen if Elon Musk ends up buying the club, which I don't think it's going to happen, by the way. One, he buys the club and we turn into a Todd Bowley type of situation on in Liverpool, which is the last thing that you want to ever happen, right? Two, he takes over the club and he becomes a more of an FSG but with looser strings, right? Much looser strings. And it is allowing Michael Edwards and allowing Richard Hughes to do whatever they want on an unlimited budget. So I think one of those two things could happen. I don't think there's an in between. I think he either comes in and he's an absolute psychopath, or he comes in and it's like one of the best things that's happened to the club. It could be one of the two. But I don't know. Because there's also another side of it, right? And then Derek says, "Go away, Elon. He's got no idea how to run LFC." True. And then Happily said, "Read my comments on your earlier notice. You will decide Musk isn't right." He had some good points there. If you guys haven't, there's a post on my on the community page about this. There's some fantastic points, takes on this whole thing, and some history on Liverpool. If you haven't read that, please do. Shared my feelings in your comments already. I think there's many in the camp with me in saying that it would be hard to continue supporting the club under Elon. That's another thing. And Reese, I get that. I get that. I do. But what happened to no one being bigger than the club? For people who say they would stop supporting Liverpool if Elon Musk bought the club, it low-key saddens me a little bit when I hear fans say that, mainly because I thought it was always no one's bigger than the club. And when you let someone come from the outside buy the club in the first place, right? So if it's such a thing that's like against what we're trying to do and what we're all about at Liverpool, right? Which most fans believe that that's the case. We should be doing everything to stop it from happening in the first place, right? So, but if it does happen, you just abandon Liverpool. I just don't think that's the right thing to do. I think you continue to fight for the club even more when something like that happens. I think you protest, you ban, you unify, you band together. I don't think you leave Liverpool and you stop supporting the club because somebody decided to buy it. I think you stand and you defend and you fight for your club. That's what I think needs to happen if something like this were to happen and Elon does start crashing the club. You don't abandon it, right? Because no one's bigger than our club. No one is. No billionaire, no player, no nothing, right? So that's my thoughts on that whole thing, in terms of people deciding to not support the club after that. If you thought Todd Bowley is a nutcase, get ready for this one. Going to be playing in League Two in 5 years. I don't think that would happen. I do think it would be a buying frenzy again. I mean, Chelsea don't. I mean, if we're looking at Todd Bowley in as a comparison in this thing, Chelsea aren't doing that bad, right? Chelsea aren't doing that bad. If we're looking at it, I mean, they were in a title race last week, even though Todd Bowley is an absolute nutcase. So we got to keep that in consideration. And then, nah, dude, guy is a sociopath. He'd only want wants a plaything, nothing more. And I think he gets a really bad rap on that. Just because he likes to do a lot of really new, weird and new things. I don't see it being that way. If it were to happen, I think he would be it wouldn't be a plaything for him. I think he would just try to control it and just completely change it, kind of like what he did with Twitter, right? Um, if you know anyone that has worked with him, he's just a nightmare. I actually do know people that have worked with him. I used to live in Reno, and the Gigafactory is out there, and there are some stories about that guy. And he's not a bad boss. He's just insanely weird, and he like weirdly came in one day while everyone was working and just stared at a wall for like 10 minutes and then went over to like the manager and was like, we need to tear this wall down. And they were like, why? And they were like, tear this wall down and build a plant wall from top to bottom, and then just walked away. And like he's like really notorious for doing like really erratic and random things like that. So Gina says Twitter is already failing under Elon. I don't think so. I think a lot of creators are actually benefiting from Elon Musk owning Twitter. If you follow United Trey, if you follow a lot of those guys that are really big on Twitter and things like that, I can't remember all of the guys, obviously, but they're making more money than they've ever made on Twitter, and they're able to actually do it full time because Elon Musk took over Twitter. So if you're looking at like in terms of like fan channels, fan accounts, and things like that, it's only been beneficial for Elon Musk to take over Twitter because those guys have been able to start doing it full time and actually make a legit living ever since he's taken over Twitter. So I can't say that it's failing. It's good for people like us right now, and he's cracked that open for him. I'll give him credit for that. Hire and fire people on the spot, not allowed on investor meetings, et cetera, et cetera. True, very true. He'll change the name of Anfield potentially, bro. I can't get behind Elon owning Liverpool. Not a fan of what he stands for. He'll name it X Arena, probably. Probably change Anfield to X Arena. Elon is literally every ist or ism imaginable. I actually don't think that he is. I'm going to disagree with that. That I actually don't think that he is. I think he gets mixed in a lot of the times with like Donald Trump and things like that, and the whole perception around Donald Trump and all of those things. Um, just because he's like really good friends with him, but he is guilty of doing some really weird stuff in terms of like work practices and things like that, which I don't think is a good fit for Liverpool. But if we're let's say that he buys it in name only, right? Let's be devil's advocate a little bit. Let's say that he buys it in name only. Um, and he takes it from FSG, and then he basically gives it to Michael Edwards, and it says, run the business. I know nothing about football. I just wanted to own Liverpool and add it to my portfolio. How is this any different than FSG running our club? Right? Right? So and Mitty says, I think fans need to stay out of ownership and political affiliations. I would actually have to agree with that. And I know most of you guys on this chat would not agree with that and don't love what he does in terms of like the political things and things like that. I get that. That's totally fine. Like we can always like that's what this whole channel is about, Unconformed, is to have talks like this and talk about some of these things and have chats and agree to disagree with some of these things and have different points of views. I don't want you guys all to have the same perspective as me. But if we want to be really, really honest, do some research and do some digging on John W. Henry, right? And FSG. Because if we want to be really, really honest, we're already owned by someone that's basically an Elon Musk equivalent. If you want to be really honest. I pulled up like a bunch of things that FSG had done since owning us and even before owning us that was just as bad as some of the things that Elon Musk did. But we didn't bat. I'm sure there was a section of people that didn't love that, right? Uh, so nah, engagement is nothing on here. Nothing translate to anything substantial off of no advertisers. Generally a dead end. Creators make like $100 a month by making everyone on there insane. Um, no, I heard that some of those guys are making pretty decent money on Twitter, on X now. They actually do, and they're allowed to have sponsors now and things like that. From what I understood, at least, you may know more than I do with those things, but I heard that they're actually making a pretty decent living. But as for FSG, like, do some research on FSG, brothers. We low key are already owned by Elon Musk, and that's what I didn't understand, and that's like kind of the point I was trying to make in that post on the community page, is that we low key are already owned by a right wing conglomerate, multi-billion-dollar conglomerate, and Don W. Henry has already he's already donated millions and millions and millions of dollars to the Donald Trump election campaign, not only this last election, but the last three times that he's ran, and have been very outspoken about how much they support him. And just ask any of the guys, any of the teams in Boston, ask the Red Sox how much they love having FSG as owners, and where they furloughed a bunch of the Liverpool staff during COVID, when they should be taking care of them and they should be paying their wages, given that they're a multi-billion-dollar organization, and they've turned Liverpool into a multi-billion-dollar organization in the meantime, right? Um, if you dig deep, and it's good point. That's a very good point, Mitty. If you dig deep on any owner, you will find some shit that you are just like, that's disgusting. So my main thing was, how did we let FSG own Liverpool when we probably should have knew they were a right wing extremist group as well? So I don't know. And there, if you dig into some of the FSG stuff that's happened in the Red Sox, and this is like American sports now, right? Where they were being accused of being racist, and they were accused of not having enough representation. That was the main reason why they even did the LeBron James deal. If you guys didn't know that, by the way, that was the main reason why they brought LeBron into FSG and made him a minority owner in Liverpool, was because so many fans in America were wondering where the representation was in the Fenway Sports Group as a whole, in terms of not rich white men, right? And then I know we cracked into a whole different segment on here, but that was like, the whole LeBron thing was just like a media ploy from FSG to get people off their backs. And then some questioning dealings of some star players, and for the Red Sox, them quite literally not investing in the team at all in the past handful of years. Fenway Park is the most expensive stadium to go watch a baseball game in all of the MLB right now. Their ticket prices are insane, and they haven't been good for a long time, right? With no investment. So it's just like, a lot of this stuff is just like, all of the things that you hate about Elon Musk, our owners are already really doing. And that's what I'm trying to say here, is just like, we're kind of on like a pot calling the kettle black kind of thing. And I remember just a handful of months ago, when FSG said that they were looking for people to buy Liverpool, we were very excited that Saudi was potentially going to be one of those organizations to buy us. And we know the Saudi government and the Saudi public fund is the powering source behind Manchester City, who look like they've been cheating over the past handful of years. Right? Right? But there was a whole section of our fan base that was like, this is going to be a good thing. Saudi need to buy. I'm not opposed to it. I don't love it, but you need to fight fire with fire, all of those things. So it's just like, damn, bro. I don't know. Yes, there's no says, yes, there's no ethical consumption under capitalism. We shouldn't give FSG a free pass. That doesn't mean we shouldn't equate them to somebody who actively and publicly supports taking away human rights. They are all bad, but some clearly way worse and more irresponsible than the others as owners go. Um, Same as I was not interested in the Saudi ownership. I don't want Saudi ownership either. So who do we want, right? So if it's FSG out, then who's in? You'd be comfortable who owning Liverpool. Ideally, it would be the fans, right? Like me and Happily were talking about this earlier. That in a quick chat, that like ideally we'd want the fans to own the club, like how it was back in the day. But that just isn't happening in today's landscape where it's just implausible. I guess that's the question. That's the big question. Like if FSG were to sell the club to someone, who would you be comfortable having them go to? And people wanted Saudi because of the city. I don't know why. Keep FSG for now, 51% for the long run, like Germany. Not bad. And you guys know me. You guys, I don't have a problem with FSG. I don't have a problem with FSG at all. Yeah, like Germany with the 51% rule. I like that. I like that. Will that ever happen? I don't know. It would be cool to see something incorporated but Germany is so different, right? Like they did everything and their fans did everything to keep the league very sacred and back down to its roots. I mean, I know that RB even coming into the league caused a huge problem in the entire league, and rival fans hated RB for a long time and still do, right? So that's another thing that you just got to take into consideration. The people who want FSG out don't realize how good they currently have it, and that is true. I agree with you, Reese. I agree. LFC's fans would be perfect owners. 100%, man. So, well, we can't have it our way. Hopefully, FSG do keep the club. Um, but you have to think buying the club for around 300 million, and the club has been, you know, the club being essentially valued at, I think it's like 6 billion now. You'd think that they'd want to cash in at any time right now, because that's just pure profit. And then Nick said, last one, and then we'll log off here. Kind of don't want FSG out. I just want them to take a few more risks in the market. That's all. Ideally, that's what I want to see. Not Elon Musk buying the club, but FSG continuing to run the club the way that they've been running the club, and just take a few more risks. Give us a little bit more bread here and there, and I think we're good. I think we're probably one of the best run clubs in Europe right now. And you look at Barcelona, you look at the trouble that City's in, you look at the trouble that Chelsea could potentially be in, things aren't that bad, are they? Right. So I wanted to have that chat with you guys today. This was the longest episode that we've had. But I think it was due. We've been gone for a couple weeks. He had a lot to catch up on. I appreciate all of you. I will see you guys on the next one. Don't forget to like this podcast. I'll have all the episodes that I've been backlogging uploaded this week. You guys are amazing. I love you all. I love all your perspectives. I love all your opinions, and I respect them 100% and totally. Don't think that your guys' thoughts and what you guys believe is going on deaf ears. It's not. That's what this channel is about, is to hear your guys' perspective and hear your guys' thoughts on everything. We'll see